Hello and welcome to the Dive presented by Live Team Communications, Season 6, Episode 23. Did we ever get consensus on how many Dive episodes we've done, including the original audio only,
non-iTunes
and
ones?
all the ones with Jad, and the ones that were not on Apple Play, and the ones that were not on Spotify?
I'm not sure. So we got tweeted a few people tweeted me, but I saw everything from like 200 and something. Well, I saw from 180 something to over 300, but I guess it depended on like what they were counting, and maybe some of that.
I mean, a lot of people just tweeted the like ones that were the total of Apple or something like that.
203 or 204.
And I was like, we had ones way before.
It was on Apple, yeah.
We were on Apple or Spotify.
But we've done a couple hundred.
Someone might have tweeted the right answer at us, but we don't know.
Welcome to the 500th episode of the Dive. Woohoo! We made it.
How many have you been on for, Mark?
500.
500? Wow.
So we're just making shit up right now. Yeah.
You were just in the background.
Welcome to the 600th episode.
Jack's ears, telling him what to say.
When you guys were like in the closet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was there.
Oh, sweet.
In the air ducts.
Didn't notice.
Yeah, Mark was actually our PA at the beginning.
Yeah.
Grabbing.
All right, let's go on to something that's actually interesting instead of this conversation. Top 5 LCS mids all time was just dropped right when we're recording this. It'll be yesterday, I guess, when you hear it. The list is number 1, Bjergsen.
Shocker.
Number 2, Jensen. Also not a shocker. 3 High, 4 Pobelter, 5 PoE.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I mean, I think if anyone who voted on this didn't put Bjergsen Jensen 1, 2, they should never be allowed to vote for anything ever again relating to LCS, right? Like, it is so clearly the 1, 2 for so many years now. It has been the battle at the top between these guys. So when you're taking history into consideration, we're taking like, you know, the accomplishments within the LCS into consideration. There's no other answers for the top. Unfortunate for Jensen that again, you know, Bjergsen is on top, but I don't think if you're talking just within LCS, I don't think you can really argue it.
No, you cannot. So,
yep.
As far as unfortunate, you know, tough. Life sucks sometimes. It's rough. And then you die. Yeah. Too bad. What about this Pobelter placement? Because we were talking before the show, and I definitely do agree with Mark. I actually would have put Pobelter third.
Yeah, I think I did.
We didn't. You didn't vote either, right?
My vote, yeah, I missed the deadline.
Oh.
I was just not looking at my. I was just not looking.
Maybe you did, and you just missed it.
I don't think so.
I think you did because they blasted an email, but it was so far before that I was like,
ago, and it was like, do you want to?
Yeah, I said I did.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, I will. And then we just missed the deadline.
Anyway, so I think we were talking about this a little bit last episode about how like there's 2 camps generally of like biases that creep up in these voting. One is the rose tinted historical glasses, and then there's like the new gen who don't know the history.
Yeah.
Zoomers don't need glasses.
Zoomers,
their eyes are still good, Mark.
They still need help remembering the past for when they weren't born yet.
Yeah.
But I think this is an instance where I feel like, especially that original Cloud9 team that was so fun and so hype and so dominant, tends to get a little bit overrated in terms of the history of it, because it was a short time that they were that dominant. It was basically a year and a half. And for someone like Pobelter, by comparison, he won 3 championships. He won with CLG back in 2015. He won back-to-back with Team Liquid. He was on a lot of successful teams, even that Immortals team that didn't win a championship, that went 17 and 1 and 16 and 2 or whatever it was. Like, he was the mid laner for that team. Like, he has a much longer career with more highs, you would argue.
You're not sounding confident right now. Just
no,
your voice tone, I'm just telling you that. The delivery here does not sound confident.
You're probably thinking through your point, right? But I think that like it's fair to say, even if the highs are similar between High and Pobelter, Pobelter stayed at a top level for much longer, right? And I think that's not really arguable. Because I think that, you know.
Okay, for this one, I would go to bat for the Cloud9 because the degree that they dominated was way stronger than the degree that Pobelter ever dominated.
Immortals was better. Win rate rise, they were better. They dominated harder.
They flopped so hard in playoffs. Are you kidding? That was the giant face plant. That's only regular season.
Okay. What about the other teams that have had these historical runs too? Like, I don't think that C9. It was really, really good, but they were not like uncontestable. They had that playoff run for the year. I'll grant you that, but then it was just 1 year. And I don't think for an all-time list, we're not saying what was the greatest season ever.
Okay, but
over the 10-year history of the
my argument was that degree, right? My argument was not the length.
But I'm saying like it wasn't like that insanely high that like no one's ever gotten close to it. Like there have been other historically incredible teams. 2016 TSM, for example, summer was better, I would argue, actually.
Yeah.
There's other teams that have met the summit that Cloud9 set, and I feel like people just hold it at this like insane level where I'm like, I watched other teams be as dominant regionally.
I mean, for me, it's less about the like an argument of like, oh, Cloud9 didn't crush, because they did crush and they were like by far the best team at that time.
Yeah.
It's more just Pobelter was good for longer than High. Like he was on top teams for longer than High. So that's why I would put him above. Like I do think if you're comparing the peaks of High and Pobelter, Highs were higher. Like Cloud9 at their best was more dominant.
Individually as well, you would say that High
individually was more dominant.
Yeah.
For sure. But Pobelter accomplished a lot over multiple teams and looked good for a lot of years. After Cloud9, High had his little FlyQuest stint where they were pretty good for a while.
It was like a split.
Then there was with Golden Guardians for a bit, but he didn't have that same level of longevity. And I think that like as far as like overrating, I don't know if I want to say overrating because Cloud9 was incredible at that time when they first came into LCS. But to me, it's more just the attachment to the personalities and stuff that made them feel like they have such an impact because people love that team, right? People love those players, Meteos and Nisqy and High and Balls and Lemonation. Like these are some of the all-time great personalities in the league. So when you take a team that absolutely dominated like on the Rift and were some of the favorite streamers and personalities off the Rift, I think that's why there's such a strong connection to it, and that's why people really like to focus on the kind of historical impact of them. But I mean, to me, you look at like Meteos have more of a kind of a long-lasting impact than I think High did on the league as far as like staying at a high level for longer.
Yeah, Nisqy stood the test of time with Meteos as well. It's probably the two most on that team.
That's why at the beginning I said I would put Pobelter third, and I was just defending Cloud9's honor as you attack.
All right. The other thing too, I think a lot of people just struggle with like putting someone higher on the list who is not better when they went head to head. Yeah. Like I don't think anyone would deny that during that time period when Pobelter was in the league, that he was worse than High during that time period.
I was definitely better, yeah.
Yeah, and so then when you say Pobelter's higher on the list, you're like, but High was better during that time period. It's like, yeah, but then there's like 7 more years of history afterwards. I think that's where people, even on the support list, it was probably a similar thing where a lot of people were like, I can't put Afro over Core JJ. Core JJ is better.
That's a travesty. I wasn't here for that last week, but to me, that people are absolutely griefing. Like Core JJ is a better player than Afromu, right? But we're talking about the history in the LCS. Afro has been around for so long and was good across so many different teams, has been a part of boosting up so many rosters that were supposed to not be very good and like being paired with these young marksmen and making them into players that people are really talking a lot about when he's paired with Neo and Johnson and so on. Stixay, Doublelift, obviously. So to me, that was so grief that he's not number one. I think that's travesty. I think that
we got a whole little dive dip that we released on that last week.
That was
period.
We already went. Yeah, we already went over it. You could get your rage out as well.
It's unanimous at this point. We released the ballots.
Release
Stop
the ballots. Yeah. And that may be something that's happening here too, but it's interesting to like, and I'm glad that High is on the list. He definitely is deserving of being on the list because of how dominant Cloud9 was when he came in.
Yeah, and he did have those other good splits, to be fair. Like the FlyQuest, I think they started like 8-1 through the first round robin. It was
the Cloud9 Civil War.
Yeah, it was the Cloud9 Civil War thing.
Yeah.
Cloud9 was also really good during that time period. I think the top 4 is pretty much uncontestable. Yeah. You might swap High and Pobelter around. I think you can make a case either way.
1, 2, there's no argument with order.
1, 2, no
or
argument.
People.
5th at PoE, I think might surprise some people until you try and figure out who you would put there instead. And it's kind of tough. PoE's been here since 2018 when he came over.
Was it 18 or 17? He was on when he was on Optic.
It was 18.
Okay.
I see it saying that he started December 2017, but that would be
after 2017 season. Yeah.
So it's 4 years now, basically 18, 19, 20, 21. This is now his 5th year in 2022.
Yeah.
So almost half the league's history, almost a little under.
And if you're new, like if you've watched him just like this year, this is by far his worst year.
That's true too. I
mean, by far. Like, because even when he was on bad teams, and he has been on some bad teams in the LCS, it was never really debatable that like he was up there at the top, at least on control mages, right? Like he was always this guy that was a carry threat. And like when I think back to Optic sucked, but like he would get you wins, right? Like just purely through PoE. Like I have this one game in my head that was like a Tristana mid game, I want to say, or something like that, from PoE. And he's had obviously so many like Ori games and Cassio games and Azir games, like all his control mages. But he was always that like turbo late game threat that if the team was even, he was just going to win you team fights in 5v5 later on that were just going to win his team a lot of extra games, right? So I do think he had a lot of really, really impressive years.
Yeah, I think
even on bad teams.
The CLG team he carried to 3rd, 4th that year. I think it was like dropping. Then he went to the FlyQuest, had the back-to-back finals year. Then TSM was quite successful as well. So he had a pretty good string of years before this one was a bit of a come down.
Yeah. But I just wanted to point out that it's not just because he's on a bad roster, because even when he was on bad rosters before, like Optic, he was dominating. This year has been his least impressive, but yeah, I can't really think of anyone that I would put above him.
So here's someone who I feel is getting a little screwed because of a role swap, and it's Huhi. If you look at Huhi's career, he is undeniably borderline top 5 in both positions, I would say.
That's fair, yeah.
But he can't be put in either of them.
Let's give him a lifetime achievement award.
Yeah, but then if you also make a top 10 list all time of regardless of position, he might just miss that one too.
That's tough.
He's like the MSI runs multiple championships with both 100 Thieves as a support and as a mid laner. Like he has had an insane career, but it's split across 2 different roles, so he kind of gets screwed on these lists.
I also think if Nisqy had stayed one more year, I think he would have the spot. I think even if he was just here for one more year.
Yeah, he just wasn't here long enough.
Yeah, but
individual play level, he was so good. I was really sad when Nisqy left the league. Yeah. He was one of my favorite players to watch because I thought he was playing at a very high level, but also a unique play style.
Remember even when he first started here, and he was like, I forget, he was playing Lucian versus Jensen, and everyone was like, oh my God, and he like shit on him and like, you know, blasted into the scene, even though he was on a bad team.
Yeah.
So that's another of like, I feel like this 5th spot is wide open. You know,
someone's gonna take it.
That is JoJo's spot soon. He's gonna be climbing these ranks. Like,
give him a couple years.
I mean, even next year, I'm like, put him in. Like that spot is loose.
Yeah.
Palafox, like this list for mid lane for LCS, historically, like has a lot of, you know, spots behind Bjergsen and Jensen. And so I feel like that's a cool thing for the mid laners right now.
Yeah.
This is a very open and accessible list to start making some headway.
Well, even like
up.
Between High and Pobelter, with both of them being now out of the league, you could potentially get as high up as 3rd if you are a player like a JoJo who's going to go flying up the list.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if JoJo dominates a couple years in a row, like you can be top 3, right? Like it takes a long time, I think, to pass Jensen or Bjergsen,
especially when they're still playing.
Yeah, but you can get into the top 3 combo. It's definitely achievable. But I like that you brought up Huhi, because Huhi's a weird one where it was like, yeah, because his career is split, it's hard to kind of like contextualize it. But I always felt even when he was a mid laner, he got so little credit because of the play style.
Yeah.
Even that, he also got flamed a lot.
Yeah.
While he's like performing at international events, everyone's just flaming him all the time.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that was because of
how was
the roster swap, but also how the game was played back then, I think was pretty different. When you think about mid laners at the top, there was way more like 1v1 kills and all this kind of stuff. Like when you think back like season 5, season 6, like, you know.
But he was a roamer.
Exactly. He didn't play that style, and he didn't play that style
ahead of his time
in an era when every top mid laner was like the 1v1 kill guy who was going to like lock Zed or whatever and dump on you or play LeBlanc and kill you, right? Like, and he was just going to leave lane and be down 15 CS and like
Doinby watched him at MSI finals on Aurelion Sol roaming level 1. He's like, that's the guy I want to be.
That's who I want.
He's never admitted this publicly, but we all know the deep lore that Doinby was inspired by Huhi.
I mean, Huhi, I always felt like really just never kind of got his fair credit in a lot of ways. So
until he became a support, it's kind of like that artists that are never appreciated until they're dead. It's like Huhi was never appreciated until he like role swapped over to being support.
Well, people are just like intellectually more okay with the support being the like
Yeah.
engaged
player.
guy, like team player guy. They're just like not okay with that for mid lane, or not as okay, because all the prototypical mid laners, like your Faker and your Rookie and all these guys are the like, he's up 30 CS and he killed you under your tower, and it's just like that's just never who he
But
was.
COG, Huhi roaming at Worlds to kill the Rocks Tigers, like that was
That's one of the most iconic
That's
players.
one of the best, like biggest, upsets. And it's like he was as rare as your everyday Aurelion Soul player. Like there's probably only like 10 Aurelion Soul players, and we had one on the pro stage doing it at international events. And even when he was smashing with it and our Aurelion Soul was broken, no one else, like everyone else was still like, I can't, I don't know, like I don't want to put time on it.
The other thing was
it was so cool. No one else would do it.
It was also really bugged. Aurelion Soul got disabled all the time back then, which nerfed Huhi directly. You wouldn't have to ban his like best champ.
It also meant that other people couldn't practice it as much, because they'd be like, it's banned this week. Like, why would I put time in on practice? No.
It was always like weird bugs. Like if you stood in a brush, your balls weren't visible, and you could just like people would walk into them and take. I forget what the bugs were, but there was just countless bugs with him.
Yeah, it's really funny. I mean, it's just the champion had an interesting playstyle, right? Where you just like spam base and keep flying out on the map. Kind of reminds me of it was Keen that played the home guard Hecarim mid, right? Mm-hmm. That's like way back in LCS lore, but I remember that kind of playstyle too, where it was just like spend all your health and mana instantly base, you had the upgraded home guard boots, and just zoom out onto the map over and over. But it's definitely. It's an interesting list, right? And these lists are fun because it makes you think back to kind of like the history of a lot of these players and of the league. But mid lane is for sure, I think, the most wide open.
Definitely agree. Oh God, I just swallowed C. When I was about to try and do a transition. Kobe, you do it.
All right, I'll take it from here, Mark. Take a rest. Your job is done. Your watch is over.
Seedy.
Your watch is over, Mark. We've got a Twitter question from Sam Ford. What are your thoughts on the live listen-ins for team comms during matches? I love it. I think it's hilarious, even though it was really just a bet of when we're going to get the first F-bomb. And it was instantly, as expected. We still obviously need to work out the kinks, how frequently we use them, the placements that they're used,
live.
Because it did feel like, the first one, they're like, hey, we've got a live listen-in for you. And then I was like, okay, boom, boom. And then, we've got another one, and we've got another one. So we'll obviously smooth out the process, but I think it's a great tool to have, because I just love during some of the setups, actually getting not only a little snippet of live comms and how they actually are going, but also, you get a little blip of insight into what they're actually thinking about right now.
Yeah.
A lot of times on cast, we have to fill that in, and we're like, the reasoning behind this play is probably this. But if we actually have this tool, then some of those we don't have to fill in that probably, and you get directly.
Yeah. I've listened to comms before, like where I was like, oh yeah, I think this guy really had like, what a smart read. He knew exactly where the jungle was. He's there for the counter gank. And then you hear the comms and they're like, oh shit, he's here.
I won. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Everyone's like,
sometimes it's really, really funny. Just either have it validated or just be like, I guess it just worked that way.
I mean, even just the way they talk sometimes in comms, like the Speaky game was hilarious. Every time we tuned in, Speaky was just yelling some random stuff.
Yeah. I think it's really good. I mean, I agree with you completely. It's only additive. It's just about like it's another tool, right? So as long as it's used well and used appropriately, it's
we
great.
Just got it. We're level 1 with comms right now, but we'll be leveling up.
It's going to be interesting though, like to see like how the players feel about it and stuff. And also we swear sometimes on the dive, like that's a bit more casual, but on broadcast, it's pretty rare that people swear. Like,
don't they bleep us out? Do they not bleep us out?
No,
they never bleep us out. What?
All right.
How long you been here, dude?
I don't rewatch it. I did it live. I don't need to rewatch.
But for a live broadcast, obviously we very rarely swear. So if like it's like
our producer says he bleeps on this or that.
Like it's like is cursing allowed? Like is it okay if the players are cursing all the time every time we go to it? It's kind of funny because I remember back in the day for MLG, they used to do comms for WoW, but they would just be like, okay guys, you might be listened in on, but they wouldn't really tell you or anything, and they're just like, so no swearing, but of course. It's in everyone's
that's how you talk.
Exactly. So they were going to swear all the time, and then they would listen to our comms for a full game without even telling us. So like it'd be our entire comms from start to finish. The casters wouldn't even be casting. We're dropping F-bombs left and right. We're like, kill this, going in on it. And the refs would come, oh, come on guys, no swearing. It's like, it's kind of funny. But it'll be interesting to see how the players feel about it and how like, if the sponsors care.
I mean, they asked the teams. So one thing is,
everyone's down.
We asked all the teams. Some of the teams said no live listen-ins, only replay listen-ins though. So there are caveats. I casted one of the games that both teams said no live listen-ins, only replay listen-ins, and so that's why we didn't have any live listen-ins for that one. So yeah, we are asking them and talking to them. So the players do have a voice.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll see if it changes over time. The swearing thing, to be the wet blanket, is I know that there are adults with children who watch LCS and put it on like their big screen.
I've gotten tweets from them before.
I've definitely gotten tweets about that too. Yep. And I respect it. It's like, you want to be able to watch this with your family, and there's absolutely no reason that swearing is needed. Like, it doesn't it can at times enhance a comedic or like a hype moment, very situationally.
If used really well,
If used well. But for the vast majority of times that swears in vernacular is used, it does nothing additive.
Yep.
And in that sense, a lot of these comms, if they're just dropping F-bombs about like, kill this effing guy, like it's not really adding anything. And I think it could.
It's funny.
It's marginally funny because it's like he said an F-bomb, but if it became totally normalized the way it isn't, like no one laughs when you drop an F-bomb in real life, just like walking around.
Yeah. Also, the novelty of it is part of the reason. So if we do replays all the time and there's F-bombs every single one, then all of a sudden there's no novelty. It's not funny. It's not rare or anything.
And it's just increased the rating of who can watch it.
Exactly. The other thing I was going to bring up is maybe there's possible viewership or sponsorship or, it has ties there. That's always,
even in the audience,
the worry with like
their little
YouTube
kids
and stuff
here. So it's like,
I was passing one of the games. There was a kid with a sign right there in the audience.
Yep.
That was the speaking game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You get to listen, and there's like people who look between 5 and 7 or 5 and 10 or whatever in the audience. So you're like, oh, I don't know. Like maybe their parents don't care. Maybe their parents do care and aren't going to come back. So So I'm sure it'll have to get ironed out. But if you guys at home have any thoughts on how we can improve with it, definitely let us know. What you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, because the LCS producers are definitely listening and looking online for feedback. And the social team is always like, if you tweet at LCS official and stuff, they're looking.
Don't rent trucks though, and
no trucks
our way, please. No trucks circling the LCS.
I'm gonna rent a truck, but it's just gonna be like, watch the LCS. I'm gonna get positive truck going.
Wholesome T1 fan version, Mark.
It's gonna pull up outside Kobe's house and it's gonna like blow its horn, and you look out and be like,
good morning, Kobe.
I love you, Kobe. Just drives away,
just saying, you're doing a great job.
Blocking traffic.
What's funny is Mark lives literally 1 block from me, and so the truck could like make a stop at his house and he'll change it or add it or something, and then just like comes up the street.
The Ubers that have the thing on the top that's like advertising, so you can like double up. I want to get one of those and just put it on my car for advertising the LCS.
Now, actually, since you live so close, if you hire a truck instead and you don't come yourself, I'm gonna feel like you actually don't care. I
need to look at the prices. It might be cheaper. It's like it's more of a thing in South Korea, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The story we're referring to is this T1 story where the fans have gone kind of crazy on T1, hiring trucks. They even posted some stuff about like finding where the players live and stuff, and it's getting kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, some fans obviously just go way overboard, right? This stuff is never cool. The like truck, that most recent truck, this has happened with, I'm not sure, I think T1 in the past, but also other teams where people hire these trucks with signs and stuff. And the words on the truck, according to this post, were incompetent head coach who demoted, agreed his lackage of ability. The answer is hire coaches who won worlds. Basically just like flaming the coach and saying get a better coach, right? But it's just like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird, and sending this around like where they live and stuff is like really inappropriate. And then T1 also tweeted something out about along the lines of basically like, stop waiting for our players outside to like, get pictures and stuff like that. And they
outside the studio.
I think it was studio, and maybe their training facilities and various things like
waiting outside for pictures seems is normal. Like we do that at LCS.
I mean, there's a difference between like
the thing that I thought was scary was they were talking about like finding out where players live and stuff like that. That's where it gets there.
It also just depends on like the aggressiveness of it. Like you can wait outside for a picture for us, but if you start following me to my car or like harassing me if I'm like, sorry, I gotta go, and you're like, no.
Yeah.
So like it can very quickly.
It's the players' team houses. So it says it's brought to our attention that an increasing number of fans have been waiting around HQ and the players' teams' houses. We'd like to ask fans to keep their distance from the players for safety and privacy. Do not wait for the players coming to the HQ, team houses, or in the parking lot. Please show your respect for the players in the HQ. Blah blah blah.
That's
especially with
that has been a problem actually all the way. Like I remember years ago, after Bjergsen had only been here a couple years, the TSM house got doxxed. Like some super fan that was actually from Europe flew over from Europe, like sold a bunch of stuff, used the money to fly over here and find the TSM team house, and they showed up at the door and like tried to force their way in to find Bjergsen, and like that got really scary. And I know like TSM at the time was like, holy shit, like Riot, help, like what's like there's so this sorts of thing has.
I don't know if I've ever told this story in the dive. I've probably told you guys the story where like some people, when I used to stream in Toronto.
You told the story, yeah.
Did I tell it in the dive?
Oh, I don't know about
that. No, I mean not on the dive. Maybe not on the dive. I don't
think I have on the dive, but like when I used to stream in Toronto, so I lived on the 7th floor of an apartment building, right? And you could see out my window towards this like park. And people, like some people not only figured out what building I was in, but they used Google Maps and then went in person to figure out the angle from my apartment. So they literally figured out the exact apartment unit I lived in and then started putting it in Twitch chat and stuff. Then it got one up from there. And like, you talk about what you're doing on stream and stuff like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. So people started waiting at gyms around where I lived in Toronto. And I had a few people find me at the gym and like come inside and like trying to like watch me work out and talk to me and stuff. And they had to get banned from the gym, but it got really, really creepy and honestly pretty scary because you're like, I don't know what these people are going to do. And they put that much effort to like find me based off like the angle of the window and using Google Maps and Google Street. It's like, it is weird. And so they're like 99.9% of fans I've met just want to say hi, grab a picture. That's awesome, right? Like we love that stuff.
It actually does get scary though. Like
it does.
I remember the first time I showed my tattoo on stream, I got spammed with messages from this one person that I don't even know if I can repeat what the actual messages were, but they were I'm going to find you and kill you in a very descriptive way because they thought it was like an Illuminati tattoo or something like that. And we actually had to contact InfoSec and Riot, and they had to like scrub my info, and they were taking all these precautions because threats like that, fans, the doxing can get next level, and they can actually find you.
You don't know where it's gonna go, when it's gonna stop. So it's definitely creepy. It definitely don't do this shit. Don't wait for people. Don't try to find where people live. Say hi to us at the studio. People love that, and lots of the players are really happy to take pictures and stuff when they're coming out of the studio too. I see Bwippo like every week standing outside and taking pictures with people. So a lot of the pros are happy to do it, and all the casters are happy to do it if you find us at the studio. But please do not try to find out where people live and stuff like that. That's weird.
With that lighthearted news out of the way, let's move on to another topic. Peter Zhang officially permanently banned from everything.
Bopped.
Riot Games related. He was found guilty from all the stuff we talked about a couple months ago. I don't think we need to rehash everything that has to do with scamming players and stuff like that. You can read the ruling online if you want to look it up. But yeah, I think everyone already knew that it was probably true based off the fact he fled the country pretty immediately. This is just kind of like the official ruling to put a closing the book on it. Yeah, exactly. Guilty. Move on to our next sentence. Udyr, broken. Rework is great. I love it. He's going to be broken. I'm just going to spam it as soon as the patch hits.
I know. PBE still, right?
Huh? Yeah, he's not out.
Yeah, it's still PBE. So they're still making changes to it, but the little like preview that we got, and they did some stuff with Trick2G. By the way, I love that they're partnering with like the long time, Udyr, icons of X Champion or whatever for the rework. Like that just feels right. Udyr, Trick has been playing Udyr since the day it was released for his whole life for hours and hours and hours every single day. So I really did like that. I like the lore changes to his like stances becoming more Freljordian gods. I felt so good too, because I had just learned this year the lore behind the sibling demigods, Ornn, Volibear, and Anivia. And now I'm like, oh, cool. There's going to be a boar god too. He's got 4 stances. Oh,
Is that not a reference to Sejuani? I just assumed it was a reference to the pig.
I assumed it was too.
So the pig, it's
Bristle
not.
is a boar, right?
The name of the pig is not Bristle. The name is hard to say, and it starts with an IL. It's like Ilthilda the Lore or some shit like that. I don't know. But it's not.
The only thing I found weird when I was watching it was because I'm so used to bear stance being stun, and there's still a bear stance, but bear stance is like what old tiger stance was, kind of, I guess. All I've watched is the gameplay.
No. So the new bear stance is Ornn stance, basically. You're a ram god. You get Ornn.
No, but there's still a bear stance.
There's the Volibear stance.
Well, it's Volibear, though.
Yeah.
So it's lightning claws.
That's all I'm saying is.
So the claws are like kind of tiger claws.
I know, but I'm just saying it just felt weird in my brain because to me, bear stance is stun stance, right? Yeah. For like 10 years. So it's weird to me now that like bear stance is now
lightning
DPS
claws,
stance, right? Is lightning claws. That's all I was saying. Yeah. But it looks really cool. I'm assuming the boar is basically like old like turtle, and ram is old bear. Phoenix is still Phoenix. It looked cool.
Well,
with
Phoenix has like a heat-seeking Shyvana storm.
Yeah,
that goes out.
That looked really cool. I couldn't tell really what all it was.
Each stance, as I understand it, is going to have kind of like a karma-esque like empower thing. So you tap it once to do into your normal stance, and then you can hit that ability again to do like its ultimate little thing. And that's what the storm was.
It looked interesting. Like I wasn't really sure exactly how it was working because in the gameplay reveal, every clip only uses one stance, right? Which is like they just went into that stance and then he's just like autoing people, whereas like old Udyr is stance swapping constantly. So is this more of like you just go into a stance and use that for a while?
So obviously it's still on PB and they're still tweaking stuff. But they have these, like Mark's saying, these empowered stances or whatever. The regular one, actually, you have the Shyvana thing around you, and the enhanced version is it's like a heat seeking, and you can like send it out.
Victor ult kind of.
But the other change is like instead of just one auto being empowered after, it's two. It's two. But yeah, we'll touch on that later when it actually gets released. I
want to try it.
I just thought it looks cool, and I think it's going to be broken. I'm going to spam it as soon as it comes out.
The only thing that I thought was a little funny were some of the visuals. Like his run animation is not quite as like swift as like Spirit Guard Udyr.
He holds his hands way up above his head.
He runs like this, and he's just kind of like a brick. And he's just like, dad bod coming for you.
I also saw the thing on Reddit where they were like posting the detailed art and then the in-game, where the in-game, like he doesn't have tattoos anymore and he was like all like clean. I definitely liked the tattoo, more like gritty version with stuff, but yeah, he's filling out a bit. Everybody's making like
he's an older champion now. Your metabolism slows down after 10 years on the rift.
Of facial hair too. Yeah,
I like the visuals though. He looks cool.
Yeah,
definitely exciting.
We'll definitely check back in on that one, but I'm excited already. Let's get right back on track though. How about this? From the Udyr rework to the patch that's about to drop. Fresh notes coming, and I'm actually very happy with all these nerfs. I was hoping there was going to be a little bit more to get excited about from some of the buffs.
Most of it's just really small things.
The first one, I'm always going to give what's going to be some new jungle angle.
Rammus?
It's Rammus, baby, because Rammus is already good.
Yeah,
Rammus is actually, for solo queue, already good. And Inspired has played him already pre these buffs multiple times in Champions queue. So I was already super hopeful. I was like, oh my God, we're getting a pocket Rammus pick. Maybe they're like saving it for playoffs, best of fives drafts or something like that. Rammus is going to be really good. You especially just use it as a late jungle pick into AD heavy teams, of course, but they're buffing the ultimate substantially. Length, speed, everything.
Cooldown.
Yep. Violence.
Yeah, 20
momentum.
Momentum.
20 seconds off the cooldown at rank 1 actually seems pretty significant, plus the base range. So you can even just do like, you don't have to be rolling in. You can just do a base hop, 200 more range.
The speed means a lot too, because it's pretty slow right now. It's like comically slow, you like move this arc, and like people, if they have dashes or flashes or whatever, usually react to it. So
I think Rammus is already really good into specific team comps, right? Like if I'm jungling sometimes and people go like full AD and you're like late picking or whatever.
Yeah, no, his win rate right now is he's already good. He's 100% already good. So he's just going to be better.
Especially, but there's so many AP champions that are popular these days. So like, I don't really think we're in very AD heavy meta. So I don't think we're going to see him if people are still playing like, double AP soul lanes and stuff. Like,
so I'm thinking playoffs, best of 5 draft.
Yeah. I mean, if AP soul laners are banned out and people are playing some more AD heavy stuff, I think it's super strong because you cannot play like divers and stuff like that into Rammus if you're an AD champion. Like, it is so hard. You go forward and he just stands on his carry and taunts you and you're dead.
Yeah, he's very much like in the right situation. You feel like he can't do anything. There were a lot of changes that were like really small nerfs to things right at the top. Like Kalista obviously needed a nerf. She was permabanned basically. There was a lot of energy changes as a whole that came through. One of them was on Shen, who was like kind of strong, already had like a decent win rate.
Yeah, but the buff to Shen is so minimal, it's not even...
It's late game energy refund on your taunt. Like, I play a lot of Shen. There's no chance of ever noticing this. I get 10 more energy when I have like a max rank.
Disgusting on ARAM.
Yeah.
When you're like level 13, I get 10 more energy.
And you're E-spamming, dude, you need it.
Yeah, I actually got excited because I always love playing jungle Shen. And I was like, oh, what are the buffs going to be? Maybe it'll be like, cooldown on Q or something that's actually going to help me clear. And I was like, the hell is this? This is nothing. All right, never mind.
This is just an energy pass for all champions. Right? Yeah. They're thinking that just energy champions, I guess, in general are kind of like underperforming.
What's way more important are the nerfs that you're talking about, though, because Talia Sivir, Master Yi is actually a terror in solo queue right now. Master Yi actually has a 54+% win rate in Diamond Plus.
He's my permaban. I absolutely
super duper
hate
needs
whenever he's good.
He just super duper out somewhere else now. Hate that part.
But yeah, so I'm definitely happy. That's why I was touching little nerfs on all these overperformers. Most of them for pro. Master Yi is obviously solo queue.
It was interesting when I was talking to Azael a little bit about this, but like 12-14 was obviously the first ramp up to pro or worlds. But we only started getting games on it just last week. So there wasn't like a ton of data to start implementing these changes. So it's not a surprise to me that 12-15 is like pretty small. They're all going to be
They're
smaller.
supposed to be because these are fine tuning worlds patches.
Yeah. I would expect
the Zed one is at least potentially interesting. I don't play Zed very much, so I don't know how often the unlimited range W shadow is actually going to really matter, like to be able to activate back to it. But I mean, it at least is interesting. Yeah. I don't think. I think it's very rare that it'll be more than 2,000 units, whatever. But it's kind of cool to see them get some nudges.
It's also the range, I believe, if I read this correctly, like where you can shoot your abilities out from. So if you leave that range, you can still throw like a Q, which in theory in team fights where you get like you do your combo, you have to flash run away so you don't die.
Yeah.
You might still get like a last second snipe or something, but
you can do further jukes.
Yeah, but it's not terrible.
Hey, anything to get Zed back in. Zed is one of the most exciting mid laners that we have.
Zed is bed.
Please. I mean, also if Zed does get in though, it will be a flex pick. You can still play it in the jungle right now. You just have to get some CC somewhere else. But yeah, I was pretty happy with this patch. Do you guys have anything that stood out to you?
Nothing much. I mean, Rammus was the main thing. I think for the most part, it's not a super exciting patch. I think the changes are largely good, but they're small nudges. I mean, I don't really like Gwen. I'm kind of bored of Gwen, so I'm happy that the nerf is in there for Gwen as well.
Well, I was gonna say my other decent one was another nerf to Divine Thunder. They're taking the healing down a little bit, which I'm always the one that actually builds Trinity Force because Trinity Force is always super high win rate and pretty useful for solo queue. But pros all build Divine Thunder all the time, so this is definitely going to also hit pro builds.
I'm so juiced for these MR buffs on Mercurial Scimitar.
Nice. Good job, Mark. All right, moving on.
Yeah, we're done with that.
Second bonus could potentially matter on the Quicksilver, like the active duration or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, those are just dead items. We were talking about that earlier. Yeah. No one ever builds QSS anymore.
No. I mean, like the 10 MR is actually like a decent sized buff, but it's because these items aren't even being built right now. Like they need a lot of
They're
help.
trying to make you consider it over Wit's End and Maw, right? Which literally now no one does. So maybe with the bonus MR, people would go for it a little bit more often against CC heavy teams. Because it feels like the only time I ever see QSS in games now is if it's like Malzahar or like Skarner or like champions that you just say you must build this, Beyond that, no one builds it ever anymore.
Yep. Just make your support build a Mikhails.
Yep.
All right, moving on to this week's LCS. It was a banger weekend. Azael wasn't here for it, unfortunately, but it is setting up a very exciting last week of LCS. I think we'll probably do a little bit more look forward than look behind, because at the tail end of it, we now have a tie in first place. We have a 4-way race for the last 2 spots in playoffs. Team Liquid and CLG are tied now. They might get 4th. Team Liquid 4th, meaning coming back from the dead.
Before that, I got some breaking news.
Oh my God. The nose
10
broke.
minutes ago or so. Golden Guardians just tweeted out that they have let go Danan, their general manager. So Golden Guardians obviously has been having some struggles. They did just try to make this move for River, which we were really excited about 2 weeks ago when I was on the episode before he had played. We're like, oh, this could be a big push for them.
Yeah.
They've gone 0-4 since. They then moved their academy guys in, and now I heard that they're moving their academy guys back out, and they're firing their GM. So it felt like maybe that was the last straw, that like, hey, we got to get River. Let's get in there. Let's make a run for playoffs. That doesn't work out. It's the end of the rope. I mean, end of the line.
It's actually this. It just sounds like this is a pitch was made. Hey,
if you give me this budget,
give me this money. This is the price tag on River. We're gonna do this and this and this, and we're gonna make this run through playoffs and have this like. You could tell they had this dream scenario, and in their communications, and I actually liked their comms when they were talking about it. They're like, yeah, we're making these big moves. We realize this is risky. It might drop us down, but we think, this is our shot to make it big. And I respected that. I talked about it in the last episode. I was like, I like that mentality. This is like, I guess, the paying of the price now, because someone above who had to give that budget was like, the hell you say 0-4 with these massive moves? I mean, this is 10 minutes ago. That's what it feels like. This happened. I
heard it was very expensive. I was talking to some other people on teams. This was right when it had happened, and like I wasn't given like exact numbers or anything, but I was told that it was a very expensive move.
It must be this then. It must have been, hey, give me this budget. This is going to be our wins. That's the pitch. If the price tag is, that big,
I heard that's why Dig sold them.
They were like, I can't turn that down.
That's what gives you the reaction then. It's got to be a top down. Yeah.
I have so many thoughts on this, because like on the one hand, I like the idea of making a late season playoff push in this move overall. Like
take some risks.
Yeah. Like I would like if teams did this more often. If like you feel like you're one piece away, like go make the move and get that piece. It's very common in traditional sports. If you think you're missing like, we need a weapon as a wide receiver, go get one, like you kind of do that from a team that's struggling. I like that idea. It didn't work here, and I hope the lesson is not that like people just abandon this idea entirely. At the same time, I was so lost with everything Golden Guardians was doing. They sell Chime. They immediately need Chime. They're putting Prismal in now to substitute in. Like leaders showing up after.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
There was just like the weirdest slew of. If it was just we brought River in.
And it didn't work out.
It wouldn't look as weird. But there's like literally they're putting in players for one weekend. Oh, that didn't work. Throw them back out again. Like it just feels so knee jerky all of a sudden. It doesn't feel like a plan. And that's where I'm like, what the hell is going on?
What's really funny is the kicker that you're talking about, where they sold Chime to TSM. We don't know the price tag on that one, but there's no way it was even close to what they had to pay for River. And then they immediately have to get this role swapped support, Prismal, who I really do think is doing an amazing job as a 2-month role swap support. But it is just comical that they're like, wait, we just sold our academy support and now we need one, and now we've got to use a 2-month, fresh role swap. That like just that title in itself is pretty funny. But I have been loving Prismal.
Yeah, I mean, just the leader swap as well. Putting him in with River, was there any base like other than
so that
leader's
one
more aggressive?
They also gave reasoning on that one where they're like, yeah, we know this is super risky. This could drop us out, but they didn't think that it was going to improve with what they had. So if you are like, hey, we're going to continue losing with what we have, even if it's a very low chance, then they take the shot and they make.
Then why are they going back?
That's at least the reasoning. Well, they're going back because they fired the guy who made the decision.
Yeah, but like your coaching staff is still there. I don't know. I mean, like I was on a team. My GM tried to like force me to like put in a player I didn't think was better or whatever. I'd be like, I'm quitting. Like, you can fire me over this. I'm not putting that guy in. If I didn't believe in the change myself, and that's why if they're undoing it after a week, the whole thing's just a complete.
I mean, someone got fired over this. Like, do you think he's a fall guy or?
Well, we don't know for sure that he got fired over this, right? Like, it's
okay. It could be a coincidence.
I mean, we're assuming, but it could be unrelated. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really know everything going on, but like, it's just clearly from outside looking in, it's a huge mess. And they had a snowball's chance in like making a run, and with everything else going on, it just points to the management more than like the players for this, like all just coming apart, because swaps are happening. People are being sold. You're buying people. Like, it's just roll swaps are coming in last second that we need because we didn't have a backup plan, I guess, like it just,
they wanted wins. They spent a lot of money. They didn't get any wins. They're pissed. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, right? It's like,
it's simple.
They were clearly not going to make Worlds, not going to get to like finals weekend. So they take a swing, doesn't work out. And yeah, it does seem like this is probably the fallout.
Yeah. Too big of a price tag. Be careful
go.
with when you ask for budgets.
Watch out.
So dive sponsorships.
Back before I was so rudely interrupted by this breaking news. This last weekend was great, and now we're heading for playoffs where this new Golden Guardians.
TikToks, well.
This old new. Why do you think everything's TikToks?
It's a meme. I'm joking.
You sound like a boomer. You're so cringa, boomer.
Oh my god.
Anyways. Last week of the LCS was awesome. Golden Guardian's about to make that run now. And the last week, now that Ablaze Olive is back in with Ole.
Rank 1 Ablaze Olive.
Do you know how many places he knew when Travis Gafford did that quiz? He got 12 points. Unbelievable.
So, it's funny because only the Canadians are going to know the Canadian provinces, except maybe I did know British Columbia and Quebec, the two on the end. You can know the coastal ones. Nope.
Quebec is not on the end.
Well, it was one of the answers. And I knew it was far over there.
It is Eastern.
There's one even more. Yeah. All right. Well,
what is Canada even?
It's probably like small, right?
No, it's just more north. It's like up a little further.
Let's Google this for you, Kobe.
Pull up the map because I knew which one Quebec was, and like that's the big one on the east.
Yeah, there you go, Kobe.
This proves my point.
There's multiple. We got Prince Edward Island. We got Nova Scotia. Here's Quebec.
Yeah, those are all small. Those are all small.
I'm Team Kobe.
Those are all small. Yeah, thank you,
Don't get caught in the details. Those are on the East Coast.
Those are all small. The big one on the East Coast, that's the one where they speak French. See? My point is, no Americans are going to know that.
The American education system here at work, your closest ally, closest geographical neighbor.
I wouldn't have gotten Baltimore. I probably wouldn't have gotten Arizona. In my own country.
I haven't seen the geography quiz. I mean, I would do poorly for sure.
I got both. I got British Columbia, and I got.
Do you guys know the capital of
Quebec.
Canada?
No.
That is crazy to me.
It's No, I was gonna say Montreal, but it's not.
I don't even have a guess.
Is it Quebec? Is it?
I don't even have a guess.
Quebec is a province. Or are you talking about Quebec City?
Quebec City.
No,
I've been to Quebec City. It was nice.
It's
There's a lot of government buildings in there,
baby.
Yeah, they skip. They don't teach.
I know.
Have you seen the episode of Sherlock where he talks about that stuff where he's like, I don't know if the sun goes around the moon or the moon goes around the sun or whatever. I don't care. It doesn't impact my life. I don't care. There's literally nothing I would ever do.
Don't make that association, please.
Nah, I don't care.
Canadian geography.
I don't care about American geography, to be fair. Like, fly over states, when Dokla said that, I was like, that's my dude right there.
Actually not wrong. I did get, what was it like? It was one of the middle ones. I didn't know.
It was Illinois.
I think I missed Illinois.
I always get Michigan and Illinois mixed up because they're like next to each other.
Michigan is the lakes. How do you get Michigan confused with anything? It's literally on the border.
No, but it's right there, and I don't care.
All right. Well,
was this something that was shown on LCS broadcast, by the way?
No, it was
Travis did it.
Travis did
it. Yeah, I'll have to watch it.
It was really funny.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
There's a new one coming out, I think today.
I would do
on old items. I got every single one. It's really funny. Oh, never mind. Well, anyways, we got turbo derailed. What were we even talking about?
I don't even know how we got to that.
EG is first place.
I don't even know how we got to that.
I don't know.
I think Mark led us there, and then I got confused.
No, I blame you. You start talking about Canadian geography.
Yeah, I blame the Canadians.
It's the Canadians' fault. None of us were going to talk about it.
I didn't bring up geography. You guys brought up the geography.
EG's first place. Still, they went 1-1.
They've got Canadians on that team. A bunch
Two
of them. And one's from Quebec, which I know what it looks like.
There
It's
you
big.
go. Yeah. I think he's from Laval.
Are you guys worried about EG?
No. I mean, they obviously got super clapped by TL. Bwipo had a really good game. Santorin obviously also had a really good game. He was up there and kind of like created that lead. They played a pretty snowbally style when sets were really far ahead. Everyone who played top lane has played into a set that got really far ahead as a melee champion. There's not a lot of counterplay. You're going to get slammed.
And I was going to say, every jungler has played against a team where the enemy top laner is either a Set or a Lowy or a Darius, those types of 2v1 champs. And you're like, good luck, buddy. I am not ganking that because not only do we not win the 2v2, we don't even win the 1v2.
The funniest thing was they still tried, though. They pulled
and I was like, that's a lesson right there. You only have to learn like maybe once every 2 years you forget or something, or 4. Like,
go bot lane next time. After the first dive happens, just see ya, island.
Yeah. Unless you're like bringing mid also and support roam or something.
Yeah. I mean, it was a game that like, they obviously lost fast because they kept fighting once they were down, but I don't hate that, right? I mean, I always feel like once you're down a certain point, you don't win anymore by playing slow, unless you have turbo scaling comp, and they did not, right? So it's like they kind of just had to fight and see if they could outplay, or if TL would mess up a bunch and they get a bunch of picks, and that was the only way they were going to get back into the game. TL played a clean game though, and didn't give them any of those real mistakes, or so it was over fast, right? And it was kind of one of those messy ones. But those will happen to top aggressive teams every once in a while, where the game just goes bad and it looks real bad. So this one for me wasn't that big of a deal. They clapped CSM in their other game, so it wasn't like horrible damning weekend for them. It was more they just got outplayed by another really good team.
Yeah, they're also, as proven by in spring, like best of ones didn't really matter to them then. They still went on an insane run. And so I don't think this is a team where the regular season will be too indicative of our feeling on them. So what about the flip side of it, Team Liquid? Has the faith been restored? They snapped their 1-1 streak. They finally went 2-0 this weekend.
So I have not dipped as hard as I feel like sentiment has dipped on Team Liquid during their bad performances, because I could easily see a rebound. On the same token, though, I'm also not spiking as hard as some of the people who are spiking after that weekend. I mean, this is something that they had before also. It's not like we had this big change in the team. Remember, Bwipo just got here, big old plays. They had a bunch of big games where Bwipo was popping off and they win. This game was not like holistic changes for Team Liquid. This game was Bwipo counterpicking twice and the team playing better around it, but it wasn't like this giant shift. So yes, Team Liquid is still good. They are not, I don't think, going to take a best of series off of Evil Geniuses. I would still, bet on and put EG as, my favorite team to win. But Team Liquid are also not as shit. Everyone just loves shitting on them because they spend so much money.
Yeah.
And so that puts a big target on your back.
Well, it's just huge expectations to me, right? It's like when you spend that much money, you have to be the best team in the league or you failed, right? That's always kind of how I felt about TL. I mean, they had a good weekend. The biggest thing for me was like less about, TL is way better now, but it was nice to see Bwipo have that kind of weekend because it had felt like it had been a while since he was kind of bringing out those aggressive picks and stuff. Right at the beginning of this split, a lot of his champs had been buffed for top lane and then they all got nerfed and he just kind of went back to playing more standard stuff. So I thought it was cool that he brought out some like Bwipo style stuff. Now we've seen like the top Olaf and the top set and some different things that have worked really well for him, because I do think that that's such an important dimension for their team. And going into playoffs could be a big threat for them. What actually made it feel like TL moved up in the rankings a little bit more to me though was that like C9 looked bad.
So you think they mostly stayed the same, but C9 dipped?
Yeah, and it does, like we're going into the last week and top 5 is like really cool. When I'm thinking about playoffs, I'm like, yeah, I still think EG is favored, but like C9, CLG, TL, 100 Thieves, EG, any combination of those teams playing against each other, I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's an insane end to the split. Even FlyQuest has like that puncher's chance. Probably not, but
they feel on a different tier to me.
But they at least feel better than the teams 7-8. Like there's a clear gap between top 6 and there's a couple striations. Like there's 1-2 between EG and 100 Thieves and whatnot. And then there's the kind of 3 through 5, which seem to be battling out, and then 6, and then the gap again. Before we get totally off Team Liquid, I'm with you about just like the the way they won did not convince me that the problems that are not there anymore, because the problem that they had before was they would get a 1 to 2K gold lead and then they would stall out and then like not be that decisive around objectives and trade a lot more than maybe they needed to. And when you get 5,000 to 6,000 gold up, you just steamroll your opponent. And so they kind of like leapfrog their problems that we see in the mid game and whatnot by just getting so far ahead through this thing that we already know they can do, which is Bwipo takes over a game. And so I think going forward for me, it's against top teams. If you don't get a massive lead, what do you do? And this game was really dominant and cool, but I don't know if it answers that question.
Yeah, it wasn't the FlyQuest game more of a kind of like a slower one too, with like the advantage that they had. I'm struggling to remember. I literally watched all 10 games yesterday after I got home, so some of them are bleeding together a little bit. But I remember thinking, wow, they super stomped EG, but the fly game didn't feel like as impressive to me, even though it felt like they were dominating the whole time.
Fly didn't put up much of a fight though. It was kind of
like Johnson and Afro were actually laning pretty well. No, like didn't like Johnson lose his like flash like right off the bat, then died early on to like that flash gank that Santorin did. I think he lost his flash at like level 1 to an invade where Bwipo came with axes. Then I remember Santorin flashed over the dragon wall and ganked behind him and he died. And Hans and Core, if I remember, were still being pressured in that lane after Johnson had died and with no flash. So I remember thinking like the 2v2 was going pretty well for Fly, but largely Teal was in control and it didn't feel like a super dominant win. Wasn't really slow, but
I mean, like it was 1 kill through 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Or like 17 minutes, 18 minutes. It was really slow in that sense. Like that first blood happened quickly, but then nothing happened.
Yeah.
And there was pressure for the bot lane of Afro and Johnson. But they also just started dropping turrets all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like 2 kills 20 minutes in and TL has like 3 turrets, 4 turrets, you know, and before FlyQuest even mounts a comeback or like a fight around anything. So I guess that's where it came from my mind, is that like, I just remember them losing objectives left and right.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, I think TL is going to be a big threat. I'm really excited to see how they close out. Right, like if they finish really strong, if they dominate in the last Super Week, then I think people are going to start getting pretty excited about them. I know there's been like a lot of hand waving sometimes when they're not doing as well about like they're just experimenting with things, but like we are to the end of the split now, right? This has got to kind of be your final form. So I want to see what they look like in Super Week, what they've kind of landed on as their best style, because this is your last chance to really test that on stage. And it's going to be exciting. 100 Thieves also went 2-0 this week. Looked really good, I think, overall. Closer had a really, really good game. Someday was really strong one of the games. And overall, I mean, they're just kind of like quietly one of the best teams in the league. Like, it doesn't feel like they feel as kind of dominant, so maybe not getting as much attention. I'm not really sure why it is, but they just,
because they're the most reliable team.
Yeah.
And I just feel like whenever I listen to segments on them, everyone's just calling them boring and stuff. And I'm like, that's a big part of the reason. I'm like, what?
I'm so anti that.
Why
sentiment.
is that? Yeah, I don't know. Like, why is that happening?
They like their soul lanes are legitimately the best 2 in the league for the last 3 weeks. They're way more proactive these last couple weeks. They actually have been blowing people out of the water and playing aggressive with like stuff. Bot lane is the only one that I feel like can play.
I'm
things
offended
like
for them.
Yeah, me too. I'm not. People always think I'm a 100 Thieves hater, and I guess I kind of am. But now I'm like,
he's like, and I am, but
well, that's why in this instance I'm like, why has no one else like started to change their feeling on them? They're on a 7-game win streak. Abba is like crushing people. That C9 game was amazing out of him. All the resets he was getting, like Someday looks good. I'm like,
that to me is like, okay, so Someday and Closer have been grinding away, working their asses off, coming in every single day, putting up 100%, you know, and working. And now with Abba playing so much better and the bottom lane delivering, like this is the team that won the LCS. This is that team again. And it just feels like we're constantly having to defend them.
I'm hyped about them.
There's all the assailants.
Yeah. I was even looking, like their game time is not particularly long. They have their game time is actually shorter than EG, just slightly. And they have, I don't know, 1 less kill per game on average or something like that. So it's not like they're way less bloody or like way super slow. But no, I mean, there just doesn't seem to be that much hype about this team. It felt like everyone was kind of waiting for them to fall off. But yeah, Abdog has been so good. So they are legit a title threat. Like this team is really, really looking strong. I know you guys have been talking a little bit last week about like someday potential. It's kind of dark horse for MVP. I think it's a long shot for anyone but Inspired to win. Personally,
yeah, no, it is. That was the start of the conversation.
Yeah.
that's everybody.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not trying to contradict you or say you were saying the other thing. Just like I was getting more tweets this weekend of like, someday should be the MVP. You know, and I think
we did get a hilarious GIF sync up of the three dudes walking. Yeah. Shout out to the 100 Thieves podcast.
Yeah. But I mean, someday is definitely in there. I don't know though. It's like, do you guys think someday is the biggest difference maker on this team? You know,
I mean, it's really hard to separate him from Closer because Closer, dominates so many. I think that because Abba still at the beginning of the split had the bad games, I think it's easy to focus
Isolate
it onto Someday and Closer.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the things is Someday's positionally better than I think he's the number one, whereas like Inspired versus Closer feels more like I would probably lean Inspired over the course of the split.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard then for me to rationalize giving more voting credit. Yeah. It's like a weird like comparing the field against each other.
It's interesting. I'm still more in the Closer camp. I feel like he's been more of a difference maker for a lot of their games.
I feel like some of these games are also games, and this is probably my own problem, but like Someday smurfs a lot of games, but they tend to be against Raz pointed this out. Yeah, he'll pick his skill matchups into like Dignitas and get like 4 solo kills. I'm like, oh my god, Someday's crazy, and then like
fight someone your own size.
Yeah, he's like picking on like Hoon and stuff.
Yeah, wasn't it the like who is it that he got the 3 solo kills?
It was Hoon.
It was Hoon.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure it was either Dig or Golden Guardians.
It was Hoon's first game, wasn't it? On
I think
LCS
so.
Stage,
he played Silas top into him, stole the Gnarl, murdered him.
Yeah, so it's like that's an incredible game, but also there's a little bit of an asterisk on that one, right?
But I will say
it's different if you do it what Bwipo did. That's very different because you're doing it against Fudge versus doing it against someone who's like first time LCS stage.
Yeah, the thing I will say is that while he doesn't do that against the other top players, he's also very good against the other top players and is almost never down in lane and is consistently helping the team advance win cons and stuff like that. So I lean towards him just for the totality of the split, but I don't want to do the thing where just because one team finishes higher than the other, let's say at the end of this week, that suddenly makes the MVP have to be on the best team. I don't love the logic of best player on best team. Do
you want?
I've never subscribed to that.
Do you want to bring in the? I mean, have you ever voted for like a team that is really bad but has one player that like without this player the team is, just fully collapses? Like the player that's most important to
the funniest split to me was the Lyra split, where he was like 1v9 every game, and the team didn't make playoffs. Yeah. And I was like, if he dragged that team to playoffs, I might have voted for him somewhere. But because there wasn't like a change on the result of the games, it was just him being incredible that like I couldn't be like, you dragged the team to 8 wins when they should have had like 3 without you or something.
I think it should be the single best player individually in the league.
That's what it always is to me. I don't care about anything else. If you're the best player and you're on the 6th team or you're even on the 8th team, and your team got 6 wins, but literally every single game that they won is you, and you're like always crushing your lane. Like, I think you're the MVP, right?
The only caveat I would throw is that I try to ignore everything about history. I try and just like focus on this split because
it's a split award. Yeah, it's not a historical award at all. So I mean, it's interesting because if Abadaga performed as well for the whole split as he did for these last couple of weeks,
probably MVP.
I think he's probably MVP. Like, because I actually think, as much as I think over the entirety of the split, I'm in the Closer camp. Somebody's up there. Over these last couple of weeks, I'm actually in the Abadaga camp as far as their best player. So he's been pretty incredible, and it is making the move towards playoffs super, super exciting.
I actually think the top 6, I know you mentioned top 5, but top whole 6, I would even include FlyQuest in this.
Yeah, FlyQuest is a different tier to me.
He hates FlyQuest. I still like FlyQuest. Yep. I'm still holding out.
So are we top 6s?
But do you like, so I can easily see a world in which C9 is playing well and beats one of those other teams in the first round. I almost don't care who FlyQuest plays in the first round. I'm betting on them to lose. That's why I think it's different. I don't think I could predict them to win against any of these teams.
So 1 and 2 get a bye. If CLG finishes 3rd and FlyQuest finishes 6th, I could see a world where somehow they beat CLG. Even Cloud9 is sus enough to me they were 8-2 with their starters, and they're 8-4 now. But a lot of those wins were like, you should lose this game from here, and the enemy team would do something really dumb and kind of throw them.
I think it's top 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I think it's top 6. I think there's 2 teams in the first round that FlyQuest could beat. I don't think they would beat Team Liquid. This is again historical bias coming in because it's not like Team Liquid currently looks that much better than CLG. But I just have less faith. I haven't seen the CLG guys play best of 5 yet, so there feels like more volatility. But yeah, I think FlyQuest, it would be the underdog, but could win 2 of the matchups potentially.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, they have one really big test. They have 100 Thieves on Friday, so that's going to be like a really big game for them.
100 Thieves has a good momentum building and crapping on your closest competition kind of weekend coming up, where it's FlyQuest, CLG, Liquid. You can put all those teams down.
If they 3-0 that final weekend, that's some momentum.
10-game win streak. They always go on crazy runs. Yeah. The year that they made finals the first time,
I swear, if Jack calls them boring after they beat all 3, he's like, yeah, but it was kind of boring. I was like, what the
hater.
He has them Jack. He's not 100 Jack. EG has Golden Guardians Dig, and then they have C9 as their kind of final challenge. So those top teams you could definitely see them having a lot of momentum coming into playoffs. And we're kind of like assuming those are going to be our locked 1 and 2. But it's going to be really exciting. 100 Thieves looking really, really good, peaking at the right time for sure. Let's move on to CLG a little bit.
Woo! Let's do it, baby.
Oh, you talk about Kobe was waiting for this one.
You want to only look forward? CLG is 3rd place in the LCS right now. Let's just sit in that for a moment. It might not be the case next weekend, but honestly, this team is so much better. I started saying at the beginning when they first started to upset these top teams, but this team already so much improvement. It's crazy. It's without a doubt one of the biggest successful turnarounds of a team in this short of a time span. Adding Dokla to the squad, they've played so much differently. Contracts has these games where he literally 1v9s, surfing around the rift, all these ganks off. And they've had games where...
I don't know if we're doing... Are we doing most improved? If we are, he's the most improved.
There's a most improved award.
Then he wins. Congratulations.
For the year, technically, so I don't know how spring plays into it.
Sorry, go ahead.
They've had games where Luger, the bottom lane carry that everyone, last year was like, this is the only way CLG win. They all better gank bottom. And CLG was like, yep, Palafox, get a roaming champion, contracts, camp bottom. Okay, we got some wins, off of Luger. But now everyone has been able to carry on this team at different games. They've also had games where different, lanes are making big mistakes, and they've had to help carry, underperforming lanes. But this is such a big success to me already that CLG are up there. It's still going to be a long shot for them to hold on to 3rd place and be able to actually get a world spot. I think that is still a low percentage chance.
Yeah,
but without a doubt, huge success, huge improvement, huge story for these guys.
I mean, one of the cool things too about this weekend was that they won in very different ways, right? I actually really like the kind of diversity that they're showing, because sometimes in the past we've had kind of really good BO1 teams, but then you look at their champion pools and you're like, well, you ban this and you ban this and you then ban this and then you 3-0 them, right? They don't really have that. Like maybe you could kind of try to target Dokla or something, who has really liked a couple of specific carry champions a lot. Like, his Jace, his Gwen, his Yone are kind of his big 3, but he's played other stuff too. And Luger has played a million different things, right? Like to go from doing well on Seraphine one day, then Twitch the other, they're like polar opposites, right?
Yeah,
I think that's really cool.
I actually was going to super hype up their drafts, because they're the team that has been really willing to use champions first.
Yeah.
Seraphine first before it even gets buffed. Draven as well. They're going to go for the big snowball team. They're like, oh, we see a weak opponent. Draven has been stomping and gets picked all the time. LCK, LPL, Champions Queue is every single game. And you get these 10,000 gold blowouts, but nobody does it on LCS stage. CLG's like, hell yeah, we'll do that. Go to town, Luger, Draven. And they're like, boom, 12,000 gold lead. Okay.
They're a team also that is volatile in game, but not actually in results necessarily. They'll die a lot. There'll be a lot of plays that don't always work out for them. And I think some people in the community have confused that with them being inconsistent, but they have 2-0'd all the teams below them in the stand. They haven't dropped a game to anyone below them or below the top 6. So they've beaten all the teams that they should beat. And then they're 1-1 against all the other playoff teams so far, aside for 100 Thieves, who they're playing this weekend. So this idea that they drop games to bad teams is just not true.
You know where the variance, I think, impression comes from? It comes from when they lose to a top team, it's like, boom, explodes in their face because they're going for ganks and like, bah, 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 attack, attack, attack. And then, so you see, oh my God, they just got destroyed by a team. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, wait a second. That was one of the top teams. That was not, like you're saying, one of the bottom teams. But then they do also have upset wins where they beat the top teams. So there's big variance there. But yeah, they have been incredibly consistent actually versus the bottom teams. To reference like the Draven game, That was one where they're like, oh, hello, Dignitas. I see you down there. Like boom, 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 slap, slap, slap.
It's just cool that Luger's most played is 2 games on a couple different champions, right? He has 2 Callista, 2 Seraphine, 2 Sivir, and 2 Senna. And then he has, Zeri, a Kaisa, a Jinx, and a Felios, an MF, a Draven, a Twitch. Like he's played so much different stuff. And Puma's pretty similar as well. Like Puma's played, ridiculous amount of stuff. I'd be curious to see like how that stacks up with the other people who have the most diverse champion pools for bot lane. Because I would guess that their bot has the largest champion pools this split of any team. I'm trying to think if there would be anyone else that would even be in the consideration. But like Puma's most played is 2, Luger's most played is 2. These guys are playing different stuff all the time, which I do think lends you a little bit more faith coming into playoffs, where it's harder to prepare against those kind of teams. I still don't think that I would bet on them to make worlds or anything like that. But it's not easy to just look at this team and say, oh, this is exactly how you stop them, because they can only do this one thing.
And I think they have a very real chance of making worlds. Like maybe you don't want to bet on it, but I feel like even a double-digit percentage chance at the moment, because the only ones that you would be like, all right, I'll put my money on like what, EG and 100 Thieves?
EG and 100 Thieves think are going to go for sure.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if either of them don't go. And then
Cloud9 Team Liquid and CLG is like basically the other spot.
Because
you hate FlyQuest.
Yeah, exactly. FlyQuest, I give sub 5% chance.
I'd actually agree with that probably.
TL, I think, I feel like the most likely, because I felt that they've been the most stable. And I do think that experience matters a lot in playoffs as far as the pressure of the situation. And I think that works against CLG a lot. If I had to do like percentages just off the top of my head, I don't know, it's like 60 or like maybe 50% for TL, like I don't know, 35 for C9, like 10 for CLG, and like 5 for FlyQuest or something like that. This
is the perfect time to interject. Palafox's names are overrated. Experience these old goons. Get them out of here.
Yeah. You're giving C9 more of a chance than CLG after CLG just destroyed them.
Yeah. Yep.
I'd actually say they're closer than that. I would put them at pretty equal right now. I haven't been terribly impressed by Cloud9 all split long. For the same reason we've already talked about. It's just like they're, even in their wins, not super convincing.
I feel like
get blown out.
Even all 3 of them are split. I don't even give Team Liquid the name bump. I'm with Palafox.
I'm giving names them bump.
Names are overrated.
You give CLG the same chance to make worlds as TL.
Names are 50-50, overrated. 50,
they make it or they don't. All 3 of them.
Have you heard the name Palafaker?
Do you want to take a bet?
I think
I'll do a bet. I'm down for bets. By the way, what was the last bet I made with
We're
Mark?
not talking about it. I remember what it is, and I'm not going to say it.
I won then.
You don't know that.
We'll check the tapes. Elias, get on it.
No.
I've got another bet win versus
Mark.
Mark.
Outsource your own bets. Pay attention to yourself.
I'm not outsourcing
You're
the bet.
You're outsourcing checking what it is.
Yeah.
Do it yourself.
Checking what?
No, do it yourself.
What should we bet?
Let's do the cold dunk that James did.
Oh God, on the dive? Or when?
Not for the whole dive, but
just
to do
a
it.
social thing.
It's either, it doesn't matter when, where, or whatever.
So you get
a cold dunk for like max 10 minutes.
Okay.
How about like
5 minutes?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. So if CLG goes to Worlds, I have to dunk. If TL goes to Worlds, you have to dunk. If both of us are wrong, no one dunks.
All right, I'll put my
You're
money.
saying it's the same odds as Team Liquid, so there you go. So you can bet.
This is the most risky bet that I've done.
It's not risky.
But
it's the same odds.
It's
the
not
same odds.
It's not risking my 100% win rate versus Mark though.
Well, because
that's why you want to have
horrible bets. I don't take horrible bets.
Yeah.
I'm a showman.
You are. Yeah. You're
No, I like this one.
I'll back you up a little bit too, because I think Palafox ever since that Bjergsen game where he was Pal Faker,
Yeah.
has
It's most risky because I never do 50-50 usually.
Fair.
Abadaga is number 1 over this stretch.
Yeah.
I'd say Palafox is number 2, number 3.
He's
Mid
been-
laner.
He's had some super good
Really?
games.
Over
he
Jojo?
has. So the only thing I would say, the consistency would hurt in that argument because he has had some, like I'm talking about, ones where he literally carries the game, and they've had other underperforming members. But there's also been games where he is severely underperformed. So
Yeah, I don't agree.
The
that
last 3 weeks, he's been
but he is
good.
He is a Smurf.
Bjergsen has been very consistent, and Jojo Pion, I think, is really good.
I think if you go back and see how much they're impacting the game, Palafox has had some of the high, like even in games where he's not getting all the kills.
I like it.
I would have to really examine it, but that one's a hard one for me to like take at face value.
He's all over the map, dude. That dude can't be contained.
We got another bet though. I'm happy. All right,
There you
go. Elias, get on it. Did we have terms for our bet even? I got to check the tapes. I will do it myself.
No one help Kobe. All right, if he can't be,
he's not going.
If he can't be asked to keep track of his own bet,
but I already know that I won. So
do you know that?
Yeah.
You don't even know what the bet was. How can you say that?
If that's your poker face, you're terrible.
It's not poker face.
I definitely won.
Well, he knows that he won because if you won, you would just tell him what the bet was.
Yeah,
so he had to pay out.
No.
so it
I actually
work.
the greater reward
you know what?
for me,
We should actually also start a dive poker game.
poker game.
the reward for me is watching Kobe be unsure of what his bet was. It's actually funny knowing that you're gonna have to go back and scrub through these times.
Someone's gonna tweet him. That's the problem.
No one help him. Make him do the work. That's its own reward for me, is knowing that he's got to go
knowing
through.
that he's gonna have to watch.
There's an army of people. There's an
bleep.
army of people that don't want you to have that satisfaction, that reward though, and they'll tweet me.
Who's fans? Who do they like more? If you like Kobe more.
See, the thing is, I also only need one to get through.
Exactly.
I only need one.
That's the problem with this. It's not like your fans can't like override.
Fandom's so gross to me.
Would you say
all the work out of our lives?
Would you say names are overrated? They're getting too much credit.
Yeah, Kobe.
Would you say fans are overrated? They're getting too much credit.
Everything's overrated. I hate everything.
All right. Do you guys want to make your case for FlyQuest after their 0-2?
Nope.
No, this is not a great time to.
It's not a great time for you.
It's not a great time for me. I'll check in with you maybe next week.
I'm feeling a little under the weather.
Yeah.
I'll check.
There's some other things we should really talk about before we end. I mean, FlyQuest has some easy games next week. They should go 2-1, and we'll have a much better case after they beat TSM and Immortals. We'll give you that case then.
Okay.
We're still building it.
Appreciate that. Anyone else you want to touch on?
Bottom 4 race, I think, is interesting. We kind of hit on Golden Guardians a fair amount. TSM is relatively secure with a 2-game lead over some of the other teams in that race, if I'm not mistaken. Dignitas is 2 games back. I guess Immortals
only Dig.
TSM has,
they're only 1 game over Immortals.
TSM
Golden Guardians.
has a rough schedule though. They have a CLG, Cloud9, and FlyQuest. That could be an easy 0-3.
Yeah, they're not safe. That's
and
for sure.
then like who are you most?
But like, who plays Dignitas? That's what I.
Dig has
know.
Liquid,
EG
and
and Team Liquid. Dig is
and
Doom.
Golden Guardians.
The Golden Guardians, excuse me.
No, I was wondering if so Golden Guardians.
Yeah,
Golden Guardians have the chance to. I think
feel like
Golden Guardians have a
is
decent
boom,
chance.
man. Golden Guardians.
Oh, they play EG and Team Liquid are the
Immortals
other
is
two.
also pretty. Immortals is in trouble. They're against all playoff teams as well. All top.
So-
six.
There are so many. There's 6 top 6 teams, guys.
I know, but I'm saying like some people have 2 or more like quote unquote easier opponents.
Yeah. I mean, Golden Guardians and Dig play on Sunday, and they both have like Liquid EG or whatever before that, so they're both going 0-2, and then they have a chance potentially to play for that last spot on Sunday. So no, it'll be interesting to see who makes it. I liked Jat's kind of like comparison of like the play-in tournament for the NBA. I do think 7-8 making playoffs with them starting in lower bracket is fine. I mean, it's not the same as starting in the upper bracket, but it does give you an opportunity to make one of those big runs. I don't think that any of these teams are looking like they can challenge, though. The bottom 4 to me seem really weak. This
Solo
split.
gave an interview and said that he thinks that there's a handful of teams in playoffs that they'll be able to beat, or that they could beat.
He's got some small hands.
what are you holding the other 7th, 8th team in your hand? Yeah, some small
He's
hand.
Solo the bounty hunter, dude. He's got the mullet going.
Yeah.
You want to bump into that guy in playoffs? Not me. Terrified.
True.
I
All
like
right.
that TSM has 2 masterminds on it with Chime and Solo now.
Yeah.
I'm infiltrating the LCS. My puppets.
That's why they're doing good.
Where's the Sunfire demonic Diana? You haven't infiltrated it.
No one's listened to you.
No,
Every time I tune into to his stream for Champions Queue.
The thing is, it's all over everybody. All the other leagues are playing it. Where the hell is my North American LCS representation?
This is me with Wukong like 3 years ago when I was like, it's 60+ win rate in solo queue. Every region's playing it. Where is Wukong top?
It's all the other regions.
How could they?
It's all over the rest of the world.
They were on masterminds with you, and still
no one listens to Kobe. He's in every
I was right
DMs.
about Diana Sunfire Demonic. That's what
Now
matters.
you're like besties with contracts, and he didn't even play it.
Yeah.
I actually told
You were his Valentine. He didn't even listen.
Yeah.
But
Sounds like a one-sided friendship. Is
He did
giving
not play Diana and then not go the build. That would be a real
Right. He completely ignored. You think that's worse than just
That is
completely?
way worse to play Diana and then go a different build.
Like Diana's good, but Kobe's so wrong about this that I'm not even gonna go it. Even when I am playing Diana.
That would be a big slap. My boy Acadian played it in the Academy League.
Oh, there you go.
So
you got one.
yeah.
What about Immortals? Any shot?
Also, I was also not wrong about Alawi. We just don't have any data to prove it because nobody played it. It would have slapped.
it does.
That's
it does
how I
literally
don't fail
slap.
all my tests is by not taking them.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, never mind.
You can't prove I'm wrong if I never see it.
Exactly.
And Immortals has C9, FlyQuest, and CLG. That's a rough end to the split.
There's all
of them have hard ones.
Well, the thing is, Golden Guardians and Dig play each other.
Yep.
And so if TSM goes 0-3, Immortals goes 0-3, and Dig goes 0-3, and Golden Guardians picks up that one win.
When you get a tiebreaker, TSM, Golden Guardians.
Yeah, but it's still for 7-8.
Do they have head-to-head? Oh,
It would be for 7-8. You could get a tiebreaker, I think. Let me see.
Yeah, for 7-8. 7-8 matters.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not for getting into playoffs. It's for if you're 7th or 8th, which are both
I mean,
playoffs.
if FlyQuest has a rough weekend and TSM beats them, they do play FlyQuest. So there's like theoretically, if TSM has a good weekend, they can maybe squeak into 6th. That feels like the only one that has a chance, but it still feels like a pretty big outside chance.
And to be fair, a bunch of these teams, like one upset's going to happen, right? Like it's not like every single one of these playoff teams that these bottom 4 are playing are guaranteed to win every single one of those games.
Of course.
So I think they'll probably be one.
Because it's like TSM is the closest and they're 2 games back of FlyQuest, right? So you have to, at the very least, beat, you have to beat them for sure. And then you have to either beat Cloud9 or CLG, and FlyQuest has to lose all their games.
Well, I think they're not playing. They're not playing for 6. They're playing to lock 7th, 8th. Yeah. And I'm just saying that even if they go 0-3, they might still get it because the only team that has a game versus one of the other bottom 4 is Golden Guardians versus Dig.
Yeah, and they're already way behind. Yeah, so TSM is looking pretty good for sure to make it in. The other 3 are pretty in danger. All right, we got a Twitter question here. This one comes from Matt Cole. He says, as a caster or analyst, what season was your favorite and why? To specify, it could be like the meta, the player's time, personalities, itemization, etc.
My favorite season as a caster, it's gotta be when we ended in Madison Square Garden, TSM versus CLG. Like, I don't even care about whatever other stuff happens. Like the story of Doublelift not having a trophy up until that point and it culminating with CLG winning. I think that is probably my favorite and will probably remain my favorite.
This is going to be really troll. It's very
self. Was that 2015 or 16?
That was 2015.
15, yeah.
2015 summer, yeah. For me, it was 26. I guess it was 2017 spring or 2016 summer. I guess both those had best of 3s. It was best of 3s. This is a super troll reason, but like there were dual streams going on, but there was still only one analyst desk. And it was just Dash and I in like a broom closet kind of vibe. And like there'd be 2 games going on at once. I'd have to be like trying to watch 2 games like the chameleon with my eyeballs split. And you would like be breaking down one game. The other game would end. It would come to you and be like, we welcome this audience now. We're breaking down this other game. And I'm like, I didn't watch the last 10 minutes of that game because I was doing this. Now I have no idea. And like, I guess we'll react to how that game ended. It was such a bit of a like shit show.
Yeah.
But it was really fun to just constantly be going all the time.
I hated that year.
It was like it's one of those things that you look back on fondly because it was not ideal.
I did not look back on it fondly.
You never go through something that's like trying, and in the end, you look back on it like that was a crazy time.
But not that one.
Not that one. For me, on the analyst desk, it was so funny just trying to juggle these two streams at once. Just Dash and I with so little like resources compared to what we have nowadays, like this giant studio and like producers in our ears and like all this stuff. And it was just
super jack.
One producer, Dash and I, just like, all right, what are we doing?
I just hated that I would come in, I would cast a bunch of best of threes, and then I would go home. I would have to watch all the other best of threes from the other stream after I got home to then get ready for the next day, because I was probably going to be casting those teams the next day. So it was just like all I did all day was just only watching and rewatching best of threes over and over and over. So I definitely did not like that. I think maybe my favorite was it was 2018, where it was like the big Western success at Worlds, right? Where Cloud9 made semis and stuff. That to me was a really fun one, because it was the first year where it really felt like the expectations were like super subverted, and both like, you know, EU and NA had some really good performances at Worlds. And, you know, for so many years before that, it was just a foregone conclusion that it's like, okay, you have some fun in the groups and then the Asian teams win. And that kind of really changed that narrative a lot. So to me, that was, what was that?
You're talking? Mark's watching TikTok.
No, I was going to. No. I'm on.
Who's usually wearing long sleeve, Mark?
It's a booktuber I watch, and she's talking about One Piece chapters 1054 through 1056. And
Why I had it open during the dive.
No.
I love that.
This is my personal computer, and it just was open from the morning, and it autoplayed because I rebooted my computer because my YouTube's on autoplay and I didn't have it muted.
It was like, cool story, bro. Let me watch
I was going to close out some tabs, but I opened up the patch note tab and I have a bunch of tabs on, so I was like, I'm going to start closing some of these. So I clicked this to close it, and then it fucking ran.
Oh my God. The 2018 though, I love that year also, because we also, all the casters really bonded through the hardship of doing overnights in LA during it was basically over a month the whole time, right? It was actually crazy. The EU casters all came over here, and the NA casters all flipped our schedules to nighttime. So they were traveling plus flipping their schedules to pure nighttime, and working nights for over a month gave me a big appreciation for the people that have to do that in their regular jobs, and made me never want to do it again because it was so difficult. But it did make all the casters who are trapped here with no other humans around kind of bond over that month, playing like auto chess and stuff. We were spamming with
Fortnite had just come out, I'm pretty sure.
And
so
everyone's
Fortnite.
just losing their minds, going a little crazy here. And the fact that like this big, you know, Western like revolution in League of Legends was happening, and like Yamato's giving these crazy speeches and inspiring people. It was this mix of just like, your brain is messed up because you're just overnights and all this crazy stuff is happening over there at the actual tournament. And we just wanted to like be there, and I don't know, it made us all bond, and we were going crazy.
I actually like being nocturnal. Anytime that I have an excuse to flip my sleep schedule, it's great.
I find it
aberration.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I remember just my biggest memory from all those overnights was all the EU people, because they're just staying at the hotel, so they're like not at home. They would come into the office, and so like coming into the office and playing normals at like 4 a.m. with Vedius and Dracos and Medic and stuff, and Frost back then too. It was really fun. But yeah, definitely a lot of kind of like wacky nights, because I don't mind the overnights when it's actually the shows. I mind the overnights when it's like, okay, now it's between semis and finals, or quarters and semis, and you're like, do I stay on this weird sleep schedule for like a week and try to like maintain it so I have energy for the show, but there's literally nothing to do because everyone goes to bed as you wake up, so you're just grinding some degen hour game.
I mind them either way. I'm very strongly against them. It is not good for you. Okay, get me out.
All right, sweet. Well, that'll do it for this episode of
Next game.
The Dive. I'm really excited for this final weekend. It's the final weekend of the LCS regular season. I actually forgot that while I was gone. I was like, we have week 9. Of course we do. Well, but we took a week off, so this is week 9.
Week 8.
You get back just in time for some super week.
It's week 8, Azael. There's super week.
No, it's week 9. It's week 9 because we took a week off.
It's week 8 because there's been 8 weeks of games.
It's true. It's been 9 weeks since it started, so it's week 9.
I'm with Mark on this one, baby.
We're going into week 9 here, so that'll do it.
You're gonna confuse everyone when it says week 8, day
I'm with
1,
Mark
day
on
2,
this
day
one.
3, and you're like day 9, week 9
I know
here.
You're right, but it's week 9. That's why I'm not taking a bet on this one. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode of The Dive. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor.fm. Remember, keep submitting your questions. Also, we're going to do a Dive Awards episode next week with some for fun awards. So if you guys have good ideas for categories and stuff that we should do, hit us up on Twitter.
We haven't done any work for it yet.
Have done no work.
Please help
Hashtag
us.
The Dive LOL.
We're not creative.
And help us plan out the episodes. If you send us the questions earlier, also higher chance of getting them in. You have to use the hashtag or the producers won't find your tweet. A lot of you just tag us and tweet us the questions. Producers won't find that. So you got to check it out. LCS ends its regular split this Super Week starting Friday at 2:30 p.m. PST. Team Liquid Honda versus Dignitas. It's a banger.
Oh.